piece of plastic, and now when you put that on your skin, it taps into what we call a mind-body connection and adjusts your physiology for your benefit, to improve your lives and minimize suffering in humanity. And that is a huge mission. My job is to talk about how the hell did that happen? Like, it sounds really cool. And at first, when I first heard sort of this concept, I thought, oh, it's like alien technology. As it turns out, it's not alien technology. It's very earthly technology. It's based on the body's component called the piezoelectric channel. The discovery of these channels earned a Nobel Prize in science, and so you can be confident that the science behind Super Patch is Nobel Prize science, and it really doesn't get any more sciencey than that. So we're going to talk about that as a concept, because frankly, everyone wants real science. They want a solution, they want real science. Here you have your problem, however, because the approach to Super Patch is really, he talked about breaking rules. You're not allowed to break these rules. These rules mean you're carving out the pharmaceutical industry. And that is a very dangerous carve out. And so as you guys around the world get more and more of a voice, and there's more people and more successful, you're going to have very powerful sources with lots of money and politicians that they own scrutinizing every single thing that you say, everything you post, every conversation that you have. And it is critically important that you don't misunderstand the science, you don't misrepresent the science, you don't need to. It's incredible technology, so you don't need to embellish. So part of my job today is to be kind of sciencey, and we are going to show you guys how to communicate with the population in a way that is accurate, doesn't make false claims. So buckle up, buttercups. We're going to be talking mind-body connection and how a Super Patch basically neurally connects to your brain to improve your life and ease suffering. So the agenda, you can read the agenda. We're going to talk about me, we're going to talk about the problem, we're going to talk about the technology, the future as I see it, and this is the future I saw almost instantly a year and a half ago when Jay was talking. Now, I know some of you are thinking, did they not just say she's a colorectal surgeon? I don't know if someone said that. I am a colorectal surgeon. And you're thinking, how in the hell does a colorectal surgeon talk about neuroscience? Because you probably think of this when you think of it. And I put that in there for Terry, wherever he is. But there's more to that than me, okay? There's more to me than that, all right? Now, this talk, in the past, I've had a lot of media and talks. But I want some of this information to become part of an educational format. They got me all gussied up backstage, do you see? They did my hair and everything. So I can't have any copyright material in the slides. So this is all me, all natural, giving a conversation, but I want to start with kind of my chops as a scientist, because a lot of people don't really understand what a colorectal surgeon is or how one becomes one. So let's start with that. I have 2 undergraduate degrees, one in biology and one in chemistry, and honestly, 36 years ago, very few people were subjecting themselves to chemistry. I don't know if there's any chemists in the room. But I was a good student. Let's go. Right, so I did well in school. I got this fancy award from the American Chemists Society, right? I didn't ask for it, they gave it to me. But because of it, I was offered an extremely lucrative job as a chemist by the McCormick Spice Company. And I thought, that is boring. Like, what is a chemist going to do with a spice company? It made no sense to me. And I wanted to be a doctor anyway, so I turned them down and I joined an MD PhD program at LSU. Woo! Go Tigers. Yep. I would parse those words. I had a little bit of a struggle at first. The first year into my MD PhD program, it became apparent to me that a young, vibrant, in-shape 21-year-old girl should not be in a lab at all hours with a dirty old man in charge of her career. So I graciously kind of bowed out after he threatened my career, and that means I had to give up my PhD, I had to give up my spot in medical school. And I was very fortunate someone took pity on me to help me finish a project so I could defend it and at least get a master's degree. But that meant I had to go somewhere else for school, and there was this little block of time, and this is where I cut my chops. As a scientist, there was a brand new center on campus being developed. I was the first employee, the LSU Neuroscience Center of Excellence. And so my job was to set up the molecular biology aspect of their lab, and we studied ischemia, reperfusion injuries of the brain. I did that for a year and a half, 2 years, and then I transferred to medical school at LSU in Shreveport. Now, I don't know if any of you people are from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, Shreveport's not really Louisiana, so I should have brought that up. If you've ever, I'm from New Orleans, you have to understand. And if you've ever been to Shreveport prior to like 1996, you'll realize there's nothing to do there except study. And study I did. I mean, I committed the entire art of medicine to memory. I graduated summa cum laude from medical school with honors. I'm the soldier of my dreams. We got married. I moved to Texas.
Yeah!
See, now I have been in Texas for 30-some odd years now. And I did my general surgery residency in Dallas, Texas. And then I went to the Methodist Hospital in Houston for my colorectal surgery residency. I'm board certified in both of these specialties, and I am a fellow in both of these societies, which is why I have 1 million initials after my name. So that is me as a scientist. Now, when I started, I'm pushing the wrong button. I think I just lasered somebody's eyeballs. Are y'all okay? That was okay. So anyway, I'll scooch my finger higher on this device. Okay, so I recognized when I first started school that there was a problem in medicine. I didn't understand it because I wasn't in practice. By the time I got in practice, it occurred to me, this is not an efficient system. Like, we wait until someone is uber sick before we do anything about it. And by then, the end organ damage is done. You can't do a lot about it. We just kind of shovel medicines at it. We cart them away from this little ambulance, and that's no way to work. You know, I'm looking at my patients. We're all getting heavier. We're all losing our focus. Our children are getting autism, autoimmune diseases are great. This is not normal. This all developed while I was in practice. And then it occurred to me, 10 years earlier, 15 years earlier, I was offered a very lucrative job working at a food company. Holy shit, there are chemists working at food companies. It never occurred to me. So this is what they're doing. They're putting antimicrobials in your food, and that's destroying your microbiome, which is important for your health. They're putting something called flow agents in food, and these aren't on the label, but they help the machines work better. And the biggest offender are the spice companies. There's another dimension out there where I took the job because I was poor, and I became the bad guy. I am ever so grateful to God that I did not make that decision because I would not be able to live with myself. There are other chemicals we put on food that you never see that are also not on the label. One of them is glyphosate. Glyphosate is watered down Agent Orange, just in case you're wondering.
Oh my gosh.
It's made by Monsanto, and Monsanto is owned by Bayer Pharmaceuticals. So you've got pharmacy companies that own the chemical companies that poison you in your food. Now, meanwhile, the healthcare system is stressed. Right? We're older, we're getting sicker. And a lot of people like to pin that blame at doctors. Now that, I'm going to take some umbrage with because it's not our fault. Right? On this curve, you will see an increase in the cost of healthcare. That little brown little smidge are the doctors. We represent less than 2% of the cost of healthcare. It is not our fault, but because we're an easy target, they keep cutting our salaries each year to offset that big yellow blob. These are non-medical personnel, the paper pushers, the red tape people that make our lives a living hell. And this is what the real cost of medicine is. Now, this system is not nice anymore. I want to take care of people. I'm a person of action. I like to operate on people. I just assume not doing this paperwork, frankly. I'm not the only one. We cannot keep up with the pace of demand with doctors. The little blue line is your physicians. The red is the demand for these physicians. That's a huge gap. My training took 11 years for me to obtain after my master's degree. And so it takes a lot of time and effort and money to generate a surgeon. What doesn't take time and effort and money is a nurse practitioner. That is a 2-year degree. Now these people don't do a residency program. They don't do board certification. It's 2 years, boom, get a prescription pad. Now these nurses, I have a nurse practitioner, she's awesome, but there's a limit to what they can do. They do a lot of following of algorithms. These algorithms use a lot of AI. Who wrote the program? Yeah, that's right, the pharmaceutical industry. So it's not a big shocker that as time goes on, people are writing prescriptions. Meanwhile, everybody who owns any aspect of that system, insurance companies, who own the pharmacies where you get your prescriptions, a lot of people don't realize that, they're all making money. So we've got a pharmaceutical industry that owns the chemical companies that poison you, insurance companies that bill you, and the pharmacies that sell their drugs. It is a medical circle jerk, right? And we're all tired of it. Everyone's benefiting except the patients.
Yeah.
Reasons I've been banned from TikTok. Okay, so anyway, Jake said to tell the truth, and I always will, I promise. People want real solutions, right? And they want real science. And so this is why you guys are really poised for greatness, okay? Because we've got a real product based in real science, and we've got a population that is belligerent, does not want to take a medicine. So we're going to have to talk about the science. This is really critical because, again, those big, powerful interests are watching everything you say, everything you type, everything you post. You can almost think in the modern world, you can have a conversation in your living room with your family. They're listening to you. They want to catch you in a misrepresentation. They want to catch you in a false claim. So here I am sitting on the medical board, and I'm thinking these people need to know kind of what the real science is, how can we communicate that in a real way, so we don't all get in trouble. The only thing that can keep this technology from doing what I think it can do will be some bureaucratic bullshit like this. So that's why this is important, okay? Now, we have to hear what I just talked about for the last 10 minutes. Or maybe more, I don't remember, it's that timer is so intimidating. I'm a Southerner, we like to talk, we get it. Okay, so the science, I can't help it, it's good, my New Orleans people, y'all know. What I described for the last 10 minutes was chemistry. It's chemistry. It's chemistry going into your food, it's poisoning you, weakening your physiology. It's chemistry they're trying to get you to correct your physiology. Chemistry. Now, Jay also said to do something. Don't follow the rules. And he didn't follow the rules. He's using physics. He's an engineer. He's tapping into an electric system in your body as an engineer would. So there's no medicines in these devices. It's physics, not chemistry, which is why if you're still thinking like the rest of the world that it requires chemistry to improve your life, that are living through chemistry, you need to change that mindset. This is what your clients are like. It's not possible that it can work. There's no medicine in it. Yeah, no, it's physics. Your body is ruled by physics, just like it is chemistry. And so that's what we're trying to kind of balance out here. Now, unfortunately, there's going to be a test. Everyone take out a sheet of paper and I'm just Jay's the only one who can pass that test. I can't pass the physics test right now. But Newtonian physics, this is old-fashioned physics. It assumes that everything in life is a solid little cue ball of a thing. And these two things can't occupy the same place at the same time. If they're at rest, they stay at rest. They're inanimate objects, and if they are in motion, they stay in motion unless a force is applied, right? It assumes things are solid, but here's the problem. As they started to study kind of the ethereal, so to speak, light, sound, microwaves, X-ray, radiation, they started to realize there's something completely non-cue ball about that type of energy. It has both a wavelength and it also exerts a physical force. Okay, it's called the electromagnetic spectrum. And as they started realizing maybe there's more to life than cue ball, we enter into modern realm of physics, what we would consider a quantum leap beyond the cue ball type theory. And y'all know some of this stuff just from watching Star Trek. You don't have to be a fancy person, you know? I mean, there's time, space, continuum, you know, and theory of relativity. Everybody's heard of Einstein, you may not know what that means. You know, the tenets of thermodynamics, matter can neither be created nor destroyed. That's a terrible class to take if you've ever taken it. It's horrible. So it describes how the universe is made. Because everything in the universe is made out of atoms, and those atoms have parts, electrons and protons and neutrons, and there's even smaller parts than that. Those things are spinning constantly, and there's a lot of space in there. It's not as solid as you'd like to think. There's lots of motion happening, and therefore everything has a vibration. Everything has a vibration. The chair you're sitting in has a vibration. The earth has a vibration. It's 8 hertz, by the way. We call that the Schumann resonance. The baseline wave in an EEG of your brain is 8 hertz. It mimics the Schumann resonance, and you were designed for this earth, human. And when we shoot you out into space, you will get sick unless we recreate the Schumann resonance in like the space station, right? So that's part of what we do for space travel. What it means is that all systems are exposed to vibrational mechanical forces. All systems create innately these vibrational mechanical forces because we're all made out of electrons and protons and neutrons and stuff. It's all important. Now, I just said the worst class ever. So it was thermodynamics, physical chemistry, my God. But this is an important concept. This is where the world of chemistry and physics meld. It's important to a degree that you understand this. When there is a chemical reaction, it's either going to take energy to make, it will actually cool off when you do that, or it will release energy. And when it releases energy, it will give off heat, it will give off light, it will give off sound, and it will give off a percussive force. You know that when you watch fireworks, right? So it's like light, sound, and a force. If you ever held it in your hands, you recognize you don't have fingers anymore, right? So it is a serious, my life in an ER. It's not magic, people. This is physics, okay? Now that's happening billions of times in your body at any given instance. All these chemical reactions. You can't hear the sound, and you can't see the light. You can't really even feel the force. These are minute little changes, but they can be measured. They're used. We use them in medicine to improve imaging, you know, X-ray imaging. We use a lot of this type of physics. And so it is important that you know this is normal. This is not hippie speech. Right? So many of y'all know some of those hippie type people. They talk about vibes, right? That vibes. They got the energy going, right? The vibes and the energy. And they're not wrong. They may not know why they understand that there's vibes and energy, but there it is. Now, vibrational energy obviously is a mechanical force. It is a mechanical force. It is physics. And you can sing. I can't sing like this, but somebody can sing and break glass. A loud enough noise can exert a mechanical force. Now, biologic systems, they're working in the microscopic. You can't see it, you can't hear it, but the cells know that it is there. Your cells have the ability to respond to this vibrational force. And because of these piezoelectric channels, they can convert this vibrational force into electricity. Okay, it's no different than a record player. I'm totally stealing that, Jay. You gave it to me and I'm stealing it right now. But it's a great analogy, right? So you've got a piece of plastic and it's got grooves on it, and you put it on a little turntable so it is in motion, and then you have a little needle and it vibrates as it drags through that channel, and that vibration gets turned into an electric impulse, and then that gets converted back to mechanical energy in the form of a speaker. This is why you can hear me speaking right now, is that system. We're converting a mechanical force, a sound vibration. We're turning it into electricity. We're bringing it somewhere else, and then we're turning that back into a mechanical force. That's all we're doing. You see it every day in your life. Every day you use your phone and a speaker or a record player. Okay, that's what's happening. And so we know communication occurs between cells. So even scientists, these neuroscientists who really have not listened to what this man has said for a decade or 2 decades, Because they're thinking in terms of chemistry. And when they think about communication, they're thinking about cellular communication using chemistry, right? So one cell sends a little signal to a little cell, and there are target cells, and then there are non-player characters. They're not involved, they just kind of sit there. They can't hear the cell or whatever. These are protein molecules, hormones, and that sort of thing that can talk to other parts, to neighbors, and they can talk elsewhere because the blood flow takes these compounds elsewhere. Okay, well, your cells are also using light and sound, believe it or not, to send communication. You can document a cell sending off what they call biophotons of energy, and it will look just like a DSL cable. The way it's very purposeful the way these cells communicate with each other. Plants use this to communicate with other plants. Is why one lonely plant doesn't do well, but if you put them in a group, they all do awesome. That's not just pheromones talking, it is this biophoton energy. And so those cells can communicate with each other, but attached to every single one of these cells is a nerve, and that communication can be turned into electricity, which can go up a nerve. And that's going to allow us to have some coordination. Now, you don't have to see the signal, you don't have to hear the signal to know that it is there. And so one of my stories that I like to tell was 3 years ago. I live in the country, in Texas, and in the springtime, there's no room around us. We have a hot tub. The moon's not even out. It's starlight. We decided we're going to sit in the hot tub, and that is fantastic. I like doing that. And I crawl into the hot tub, and to realize we're not alone in this hot tub. And it's not a frog that I feel, and it's not a beetle that I feel. It is a little squirmy, long streamlet thing that I feel. And I levitated out of this. Like the college me would have been pretty impressed with that. That was an athletic move with epic proportion. And meanwhile, I didn't see it. I didn't have to see it. That's just a freaking snake in the wood. I didn't even get the word out of my mouth. My husband sees my distress, slaps the water where I just came from, feels that what he has in his hand is a snake, and not knowing, because you can't see what variety we might be dealing with, he tosses it 100 yards into the field, problem solved. We proceed to start drinking heavily, because like, and I can feel it just in the heat and to this day. I can feel it, Lord. There's a snake crawling down my back. It was horrible. Okay, so this communication occurs, and what I like about this slide is that, most of you think of nerves as being like visible wires. You can see these visible wires. And yes, you can. Gross anatomy, we can dissect all those out. What we can't dissect out is the microscopic. And so on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see these purple little stripes. Those are individual skeletal muscle cells. They are like little snakes. That's how the muscles work. Now, that little black line that has little hands and little pedestals on them, that's the nerve. That's an ending of a nerve. So that nerve is touching each and every one of those individual cells. All right, so this is why I want y'all to start thinking in the world of quantum. We're talking about microscopic intervention, right? This is why you cannot see what's happening. You can't hear what's happening. It's happening, okay? It's happening. So that's the concept. The cells, individual cells, can sense even the slightest, the smallest, the most minute, the very difficult to perceive with special equipment, light and vibrational sound. It does not take much, okay? And by doing that, it communicates with the brain and changes your physiology. The cells of your body are connected to your brain, and your brain is in charge of your physiology, and SuperPatch taps into this system. And it does so by coupling itself with these piezoelectric channels. And this is Nobel Prize winning science. I mean, we didn't make this shit up. All right, but that is what it is. All right, we're just using it. Now, these channels can feel touch and sound, light, vibration, stretch. Like these are the sensations of your skin. But honestly, these channels are present in every single cell of your body, not just your skin. They're present in microscopic organisms. The microbiome of your gut has these channels. This is how it communicates with your body. It's not some big mystery. I mean, I guess it was until maybe 20 years ago, but this is our understanding of science. So, I'm doing it again. Somebody's lying back there because I keep smacking with this later. I'm so sorry. All right, so you don't need to see it and you don't need to hear it, just like me in my snake episode. 2018 or 19, and then maybe during COVID, I can't remember, but anyway, this way you have emotion attached to some of these signals. Your heart rate is affected by these signals. Your immunity does. Your neurologic growth does. Children need interaction with other people. This is how their nerves develop, okay? This is the development of the human body and really animals in general have to have constant contact and sensation because this is how we develop. I talked about the microbiome. This is the pathway through which SuperPatch works, okay? It's connecting from your skin to your brain through these special channels called piezoelectric channels, and by doing that, you're hacking into that mind-body connection, and therefore, we aim to alleviate human suffering. And that's a pretty laudable goal. Now, probably, 4,000 years ago, like ancient Eastern medicine really picked up on this. Like if you touch someone here just right, their liver works better. And that sounds hokey. I will tell you, as a doctor, like when I was going through, I was always fascinated with acupuncture. Even as a child, I did a research project on this when I was in high school. And I couldn't believe that could be true. But surely that's a placebo. That didn't even make any sense. But no, it's a true fact. They can prove it. They didn't know why it was happening. It's very complex to do acupuncture on somebody. You gotta know this. Like where the meridians are and all this kind of stuff. They can document all that from a scientific standpoint. This is true science. It just was discovered long ago and they didn't know why it was working. The purpose of the research that won the Nobel Prize was to answer this question. Why does that work? There's no medicine involved. This shouldn't work, but it does. Okay, what that means is that these receptors are a viable therapeutic option. And the reason I pray for Jay every night for his health is because pharmaceutical companies are working on drugs that will alter these receptors. So when they tell you that there is no science, that's bullshit. They're working on this science. They want a drug for this science. They do not want your $2 patch, I can promise you. So this is why it is important that we understand science, that we represent it appropriately, and that way we don't misspeak, because they are waiting for you to say something out of school. That's what they're waiting for. I said, my job is not to let you do that. Okay, so in a final recap on the science, biologic systems communicate with this vibrational energy, because they can turn it into electricity, talk to your brain at work. They can talk to surrounding cells with the little biophotons. I don't know if you know this, but cells will sing also. They have something called acoustic tweezers. They can listen to the sound of cells, and they can hear which ones are actual malignant cells or sick cells because they make a different sound. And so this is how they communicate. We can use that to our advantage in science. Okay, and again, the nerves coordinate all this communication. That's what's so awesome. So say it one more time. SuperPatch triggers piezoelectric receptors. Okay, that neural connection is caused by a vibrational sensation at the skin. You can't see or feel, but it is communicated to the brain in a very specific and organized way, and your brain responds in a very specific and organized way. That is just science. I'm sorry, it just is. Okay, the technology. Well, you don't know this. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know, unless there's some new people here who are kind of like, oh, I'm interested in this SuperPatch thing. The first thing I will tell you is it's really cool. And it's very easy, and it's confusing because it is so simple. The science is quite challenging, and the device is so simple. It is a 2-inch square piece of plastic, give or take, couple centimeters or whatever, a couple millimeters. The signal is embedded on the adhesive side. Yes, you could pull off the sticker and you could look at it. You're not going to see this. It's microscopic, and the only one it is what it looks like is J. Right? So you can't see it. It's teeny tiny. We're in the quantum world. We're not talking about cue balls that you can see. We're talking about teeny tiny little things, and it doesn't take much. When you put it on your skin, metal, piece of plastic is very flexible. That's the purpose of those little ridges. And so when you kind of move around or flinch or whatever the case may be, that little bit of motion sends a signal to your brain. And that signal is organized based on the pattern that's on the sticker. Okay, so there is a pattern for every pathway in your brain, and that pattern happens to be individualized on a sticker. So every sticker has its own individualized purpose, okay? And that's important for you to know. It's also important to know that if the signal is interrupted, like it's not going to work. You have to have a patch with the signal. You have to have cells that are healthy, so not in the middle of a wound or in the middle of a scar. You have to have nerves that are intact that can send the impulse up to the brain, and then you have to have that pathway in the brain has to function. We're working on a part of the brain that's had a stroke or been removed because of cancer or a tumor. I don't know what to tell you. This may not work. You've got to have the signal relay in order for it to work. So those are the limitations on this technology. Another thing that is important to understand is that what the end goal of the response is for the brain to go back to kind of a normal pathway. We call it homeostasis. That's a big word, but basically it's not normal. We're in balance, and you want the brain to go into balance. Okay. Well, if your brain is already in balance, it's not going to go into overbalance. There's no such thing. It's not like an Olympic event, who can be the most balanced. It's just, like you're in balance and there's no need for it. Like a glass of water, you can only fill it so full before it overspills. It doesn't do you any good, okay? So your target pathway is only going to improve if there's improvement to be done. All right, now this is important, okay? Because I guess somewhere, some way, someone misinterpreted something I said somewhere along the way about using part of this patch. Oh no, you cannot do that. You got to use the whole too, because we don't know where the pattern is. We, the lay people, it's on there somewhere. It's probably using a good portion of that patch. It may be using like a pinhead microscopic part of the patch. You don't know. No cutting the patches is not aspirin. We're working in physics, not chemistry. We're not doing dose dependent here. If you wear the patch, you go down to normal. Boom, that's it. That's the mechanics, okay? Using two of the same kind of patch is not gonna help you, right? Because it's not an Olympic event. Once you get to normal, that's it. One patch gets you to normal. Two patches, you don't get no normal. Like my mother is wearing like 3 liberty patches. Something about me. She's German, so we can't argue with her. Anyway, that's everything, Maria. I said, I did that. I was like, look, that's all right. I get the money for those sales. Okay, so and here's the other thing that's really important, because people are like, I don't have the money. These are people who will spend $6 on a Starbucks and they don't have $1.50 for a SuperLikeNeverBefore.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, so boost patch. Not only tried one in my lifetime. My stuff is coming with the weather. Stop my boost patch arrival. That's going to be your answer to Starbucks. Nobody needs Starbucks. The one time I had that thing off, I thought I was going to literally take off. Talking about give you wings. Holy cow. That was awesome. And I'm a caffeine addict. That is amazing. You can't peel off this patch and then tape it back on tomorrow. It's not like putting your gum on the you can't do that. And you can't do it with this, because this is a microscopic little texture. And it's gone. Half of it's probably stuck on your skin somewhere dysfunctional. So once it's off, it's off. And if the patch is loose because the edge is curled up or you got sweaty or whatever the case, or you had it on too long, it's not working. It's not working. Okay, now your big worry is people are going to come to you as new clients and say it doesn't work. See, there's no drugs on it, doesn't work. Okay, well, they'll say that. And why would they say that? There's one of three things happening. Either number one, they put it on wrong. They put it on a furry patch of skin, yeah? On the forearm instead of like the forearm, you know what I mean? Or perhaps they put it in the middle of a wound that is hurting, or on scar tissue that may not function quite as well neurologically. So that's one of the things. Improper expectations is probably the big one, right? I know the damn rim patch works. My husband, who's the biggest skeptic known to man, does not want to say this. Jay, he does not want to say it out loud. He will not go to bed without that rim patch.
You love it.
He loves it, right? It works. So I know it works. If Stephen Toker says it works, the shit works, okay? So, like, he's a soldier, like, it's like, that works, okay? So, but people will put it on and expect, when do I get drowsy?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work that way. You have to cast expectations. And half my job as a surgeon is mitigating expectations, right? Telling people what to expect. So what to expect with a rim patch, not gonna make you sleepy. Put it on an hour ahead of time, and I know you're not sleepy, but lay down. Close your eyes, because your brain will start organizing through the steps of sleep pretty quickly, quicker than if you didn't use it. All of the studies that we do are done over a 2-week period of time. So you gotta tell these people you gotta have 2 weeks, because the studies are in 2 weeks. And which brings up an interesting point. I saw a criticism about there's no studies. That is bogus as well. So we've got university level, double-blinded, placebo-controlled studies. That's what we're setting up right now with my IRB, which actually give up the goods. You know, we're gonna do great things, Jay. I promise. I am bringing this.
Yes.
I'm bringing this.
Yes.
But you gotta make sure you got enough people you gotta have enough people like in the cohort. You gotta have controls, and you gotta have crossover. I mean, there's it's involved in statistics, and statistics. But like all that goes into it, you cannot publish a paper in a peer-reviewed journal unless a couple of things occurs. Number one, if you are a medical device, it has to be a registered medical device with the FDA. This is why your patches are registered with the FDA. It allows us to do human studies. The second thing that has to happen, it has to have enough people to capture the event that we want to capture, and it has to be blinded in a way that there is no bias, right? So that, you like this done at outside sources, and so real science behaves in this way. So I'm glad I squeezed that in there, and I'll probably bring it up again in just a minute. The other thing is inappropriate pathways. So back to sleep, someone will say, I can't sleep. You'll say, oh my God. The rim patch works so amazing, you gotta try the rim patch. And they'll come back and they say, no, it doesn't work. Okay, follow up on the question. Were you wearing it right? You know, what were your expectations? And then ask, did you slam a Red Bull at 6 o'clock for your workout and then try to go to bed an hour later? Because a lot of people do that. And then they can't sleep because of it. Well, this is not going to override that. It can't override other stimuli that are chemical, right? So you can't, there's a limitation to the technology. If the room is loud, if the light is on, if your kids are bothering, if the hospital is freaking calling you again, like all those things, super patch is not going to fix that. But if you're in a room, in your cozy space, and you haven't been doing stimulants, you put that thing on, you lay down, 80% quicker to sleep, according to the studies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's kind of like the deal, all right? So there's science here, but these patches at this moment are only devices for symptomatic relief, all right? So listen to those words very, very carefully, because I have people who will email me and they'll direct message me and they'll say, oh, my patient is diabetic, what patches would you give them? Well, I don't know. What are their symptoms? This is not a cure for any disease. You can't throw a disease at me and say, what patches? What are your symptoms? These patches are designed to address symptoms. Now, I'm going to show you an anisole, or one day it will be for a disease, but right now you can't make that claim. Okay.
Ooh, yes.
You cannot make the claim, and your pharmaceutical industry is waiting for you to make that claim. Now, we all know, pretty much, right? If you've got certain problems, looking for 3 of these at you, and you probably feel better. But that's the practice of medicine, and unless you're a physician, you cannot make a diagnosis and then a therapeutic plan, and then dole out an intervention. That's the practice of medicine. Okay, this is not a medicine, it is not a cure, and it does not replace the doctor. I am so saddened by the last 4 years because it's removed all the credibility of normal physicians. There are normal physicians out there. I feel like I'm one of them. We're not all EL. But patients think that we just want to shovel medicines down the hatch. It's not their fault for thinking that, because all of our algorithms into the medicine. I get it. But they have to go see their doctor, get the official diagnosis, prove they don't have cancer, prove they don't have stroke, tell me what the situation is, et cetera, before we go fixing some of their symptoms. If they're just complaining of, I sprained my ankle hurts, well, now you're a mom, you're a friend. This is like taking an aspirin, wrapping it with an ace wrap, and there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so that right now is how I want y'all to think of the technology. You know, if you're going to take a zinc supplement before you go on an airplane so you don't get sick, you might as well throw the thin patch on. I mean, I wear one when I travel, right? So that's not making a claim. That's saying a symptom, and we're going to try to mitigate that. Okay. So it's kind of a semi-summary. This vibrotactile technology communicates with the brain in very specific parts of the brain, and we've all seen the videos of Jay. It's older video where you got the 3D topographical map of the brain, you know that one? And like it's green in some spots, and it's red and yellow in some spots, and then the dude puts on the patch and boom, it's like green. And that's freaking amazing. Okay, so those pathways are very, very specific for sleep and pain, anxiety and immunity and hormone control and circulation. You can put them anywhere in their body that is functional skin, that can make direct contact with the skin. There's no contraindications. However, I would caution people, because it's a children hazard, so if you have someone who likes to pick at things and swallow them, i.e. children, keep the patch away from them. That would be my same advice if they had a Band-Aid around the house, right? So if you have a little kid, you don't want to play with Band-Aids. Because that goes straight down the hatch, and a super patch would probably do the same thing. The surgeon in me, who pays a lot of money in malpractice insurance, would also caution against any sort of public comment on the use in pregnancy. It only takes one lady with an autistic baby to blame you, not the 18 vaccines some kid just took. So that you want to talk about something that will limit a company, that's going to be it. From a scientific standpoint, no, it's not going to negatively impede pregnancy. We've not done the studies, so you should not publicly advertise that. Don't publicly advertise the children, don't publicly advertise the pregnancy, and when you're talking to someone who happens to be pregnant or have a child, tell them we don't suggest it. Tell them verbally, not in a public forum. We don't suggest it. Use with your own caution. That's not our standard. We don't suggest it. If it is a child and the parent insists, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay, safely. The best thing to do would be put it someplace the baby can't reach underneath a tight t-shirt. See, I hear a baby right there that concur. The audience concurs. Right between, that's what we do. That's what we do with children when they have to have chemotherapy. We put a port right between their, we put it in a vein, we drag it between their shoulder blades so that they can't reach it. And so if I had to do that for a child, that's where I would put it. Okay, now this is important. This is Anna's a long time now. Running out of time. I think I'm done maybe today. It's going to be awesome. Okay, time to use our imagination right now. Now, I already said that, the current situation is pretty dire, right? We poison people and then we pick them up at the bottom of the cliff, but what if we could just sort of use physics instead and just block those people from falling off the cliff altogether? Right? Why not? Why can't we do that? That is, when he started talking a year and a half ago when we first met, that is exactly what I thought he was describing. We haven't done studies yet to say that that's what we can do, but that's what I think we can do. My understanding of the technology as he was developing it is that on EEG studies, using his algorithm that kind of gives you a three-dimensional, easy to look at topographical map, 95% of human beings are going to have a normalization into that green zone in response to one of these patches. That neuro connection is happening 95% of the time. So that's kind of how my interpretation of how he described the development of the product. So a few months ago, he sent me this very light reading. It's only 60 or 70 pages long with several other references. So, and a lot of it was deep. I left this here so y'all can, pick up a copy yourself. Everyone's reading it. Cool kids are. It's kind of deep in the weeds with the EEG thing, and I'll be honest, I am not a EEG reading person or technologist, so I'm gonna have to take them for face value on that. But they said some very interesting things. And Jay already knew. These people discount this man. This is what's so fascinating to me. He already knows this exists. I think he was sending me the paper to say, see, I'm not making that shit up. And he's not. That is to say, the brain, the EEG of the brain is like a fingerprint for you. Every one of those pathways is somewhere between normal and abnormal. Somewhere between green and red. Like every one of those things. Okay? And you need to start thinking about disease. When we diagnose disease, patients come in, this is what I learned at LSU report. 99% of your patients, even those who cannot read or write, which is in the charity hospital system for a lot of them, they'll tell you what their actual diagnosis is without using the words, because they're going to give you a litany of symptoms. They're going to spit out symptoms, you're going to look at the patient, do a couple of tests, kind of do your best gestalt, and you're going to diagnose them with something, okay? And EEG is starting to show changes before any of those symptoms occur. Okay, so, yeah, right? So, we as physicians have to wait for a symptom. A symptom does not occur until you have end organ damage. Like, this problem's been going on a long time before you develop a symptom. And so, an EEG can find the problem before you even get a symptom. You can't even be diagnosed yet by the average anybody. But an EEG will do it for you. That is what is so fascinating to me. Okay? At your brain at some point, we'll use blood sugar. The guy who's going to follow me, he's somebody's back there, is our blood sugar guru. He talks about blood sugar control all the time. It takes more than insulin to control your blood sugar. If any of you are healthcare people and have been involved in organ transplantation, and you'll know with brain dead people, you gotta hang an insulin drip. It is very hard to control their blood sugar because their brain's not working, their brain dead. The autonomic system is no longer working. You can't control their blood sugar. And so your brain is required for blood sugar. And when your blood sugar goes up, your brain senses that, makes a little correction, kicks off all the physiology in your body to lower your blood sugar. Now, keep eating the ho-hos, okay? Because at some point in time, the brain stops. It says, the hell with you. You know that, I'm not doing it anymore. And then all of a sudden, your resting blood sugar goes from 80 to 100. But you still don't have any symptoms. Your doctor might not even know that's there. Keep eating ho-hos, okay? Because eventually, that resting blood sugar is going to be 120, 140, 150. Now your feet are starting to hurt. Your vision is getting blurry. Your kidneys aren't working anymore. Now the doctor says, holy cow, you've got diabetes. You have any idea how much time happened between your brain going, oh, your blood sugar's a little high, and you got diabetes? It's a lot, okay? So what if we could, just on a routine basis, Jay's gonna figure this out. Tell me that he's going to do it. And I can't wait. I will retire, I will come back into medicine just to run this clinic for you, Jay.
Woo!
People will come in, I'm gonna be awesome. That's not even enough.
Oh, yeah.
People are gonna come into the office, they're gonna put on a little baseball hat, LSU Tiger baseball hat, and something.
Woo!
The Tigers, they didn't have a very good year this year, but that's okay. And we're gonna get through the proprietary algorithm. We're gonna get a three-dimensional little vision of the brain. And then again, proprietary algorithm, it's going to pop up. These are the 4 pathways that are aberrant in you. The doctor will sit down and probably order some tests just to make sure you don't have any organ damage, right? Like, how far along are we with the situation? Here are the 5 patches you need to wear all of them every day. I'll see you back in 3 months. Repeat the EEG. What does it look like? I just described. You don't need a radiology department anymore. I know. You don't need pharmacists anymore. You don't need these big hospitals. You don't need all the radioactivity. There's a huge industry that not liking this concept whatsoever, right? However, I think it's important because where we're going, the system is collapsing. There's too much, again, medical circle jerk. Everyone is so greedy. The patients just want to feel better. Your poor doctor is so overworked. I mean, literally. They shackle them with the medical student loans and the business art loans, and they put them on a treadmill and say, start running. And you run. It's been 30 years for me. It took me 25 years to pay off my medical student loans. I still owe $300,000 for my business. Right, so they put you on that treadmill and you have to run. It is, yes, a boss, and that's what you're going to have to do. Then they cut your salary to the point where you can't work on your own. They stick you in a hospital. You've become someone's employee, and now the treadmill, they click up to like 12 with an incline. Okay, so that's what's happening to the poor doctor. It doesn't need to be that way. Baseball hat, go Tigers, EEG, here are your patches, boom, problem solved. Like that is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Okay? So now, we're almost there. Yes, I knew we were. He never shares this information with me until I say something. He goes, you're right. I said, damn, she would have told me sooner. But yeah, so like, it's one of access. It's one of, okay, you gotta do the study. This is even feasible financially to do, right? That might cost more than the current system, doubt it, but it might, right? So you don't know, you gotta do a feasibility study, you gotta sign the people under consent and human research and all that kind of stuff. It takes a long time to figure out that this is a viable option, and if it is, now you have to make it available. Now the beauty of the company, Jay, is that it's becoming worldwide. So now you've got, like, how many countries are there in the world? Like several hundred, right? 187. So there are 187 government entities in the pharmaceutical industry that don't like this man at all, or any of your people. There cannot be one willing participant because this is how they make money. They take it from you as a graft and they float it upstream to some really powerful rich people. Anyway, so until that happens, you see the baby disapproves. I like this baby. They're going to be a good doctor one day, I can already tell. Until that time is realized, okay, you cannot replace the human discernment and gestalt of a well-trained doctor. Like, you can't, in 2 years, what it took me 12 years to do. I'm a pretty sharp tax, do you know what I'm saying? I'm good at what I do, and it took that long for me to learn it. You're not going to replace that, okay, until we have this here shebang going, then you might be able to do that. These patches are not diagnostic tools, right? You are not a doctor, you are a layperson. You should not be making a diagnosis and then prescribing and doling out a treatment. Because in the state of Texas, that would send you to prison, to be honest with you, okay? So, and I am telling you, people are looking right now, scouring through your social media to see if that's what you're attempting to do. So I would really caution everybody. Like, in my opinion, super patches saved my physiology personally. Okay, after I took my vaccine, I was crippled, I almost lost my surgical practice. The first speech I gave, I could not go up this stairs, somebody had one. Okay, and so I have a debt of gratitude to the company. I do believe my life is augmented as a result, and I'll be honest, I don't have to wear that pain patch anymore. So something kind of clicked and reconfigured in my brain bone. I've done a lot of physical therapy to kind of improve myself, but these patches are extremely powerful, even though I gave you a bunch of limitations. Can I say it can prevent disease? I can't legally say that yet, but I know for a fact, he just confirmed it, that the technology exists and we can probably study that, and I suspect the answer is using physics, not chemistry. We're going to prevent disease. Right now, we can only support yourself, right? And we can maintain our lives. We're connecting a super patch. NeuroConnects. It's going to NeuroConnect to your brain. It's going to tap in to the mind-body connection. And we're going to alleviate human suffering. That is no small task, but that is what Jay is doing. And
oh my gosh.
And I know that within 2 minutes of our conversation, I was online, superpatch.com. I spent $400 on patch. I'm like, this dude is talking he's laying down some tracks, man. I'm following. And so I think the future is very, very bright. Now, what? Oh, is that? I don't need to switch any more slides. So the guy I followed though is very exciting, and I will give my 45 seconds of time.